Will it just go away by itself? Okay. Okay. Really hope so. So the children in primary are the biggest group of investigators in the church. And so we have the really fun job, or you have a really fun job now. I used to have my favorite calling in church is teaching in primary singing time. But we have the opportunity to teach the kids the gospel through music. And so I became acquainted with this woman, Charlotte Dance, who wrote this and has some methods that she has a bunch of science behind about how kids learn and how different techniques actually help the music and the words stay in their head for a longer amount of time. So like when I was growing up, we had like flip charts, right? We had a lot of music leaders who just used flip charts, and you know, it was like a picture of something with some words, and they're just like flip it to the next thing. Well, not surprisingly, that is not a like very effective way to like teach music in primary. And so when I first heard of her, like in the early 2000s, the first time I had this calling, all the stuff that she was saying made so much sense to my mind. And when I tried it out with my primary kids, I was like, oh my gosh, these things like really work. So this book wasn't available back then, but like I ordered it when I got this calling in the more recent past, and it was just really great to like have all that information about the science about why these things work. And the most important thing is that repetition is actually what really helps get it in their minds. And so the more you can sing in an activity, the more it's actually getting what she calls in the back door, and they're processing and learning it, even if they're not actually singing it when they're right in front of you. So the way that she kind of suggests, and that really worked for me when I was a primary music leader, was to try to have 3 different activities that kind of mix things up. And so in your 20 minutes, if you're changing about every 6 to 7 minutes, then that is about like where their attention span is, and again, why the science works the way it works, because like they're starting to get bored and you switch to something different. One of the things that she talks about, and kind of along the lines of why flip charts don't really work, is because the kids learn through something called visual intrigue. So if you have, the reason I was going to show you the melody map that was up there is because the melody map didn't have any words on it. And so it was just pictures. There we go. And we did this in your ward conferences, and we kind of, you know, if you use melody maps a lot, then you kind of know already how things work. But I had someone say, well, they could get it every time if you had the words written under the notes, but that actually is the opposite of what works, because you're kind of spoon feeding them the same kind of thing as with a flip chart. So when they're learning like this, then they're having to remember, like, it's like figuring out a puzzle in their mind, right? And so they have to remember when they see this, like, oh yeah, so like this is going to be a word about Jesus in their mind. And so they're like connecting dots, and they're not just like regurgitating the information that's like already printed up here for them, if that kind of makes sense. I have seen people do them like this, where they might have like a group of words on the board, and as they go through doing a melody map, then they might call some children up like, oh, can you see where Jesus goes? And then they put it on the melody map. And that's a great way of like kind of blending those if you do want to use words, but just kind of like the spoon feeding them is like, that is not going to like get it in their mind. She has a podcast that she did a few years ago. There's no recent episodes of them, but if you're interested in learning more about why this visual intrigue works the way it works, there is a whole episode that she has on learning styles. There's a bunch of different learning styles that she has in her book. And I actually really recommend this. It's on Spotify, and they're like little 20-minute segments or something. And so it's something you would just listen to in the car and maybe get some ideas, or, you know, have some new insight on why the science is like, why this works or why this works and why something else doesn't work. But so part of tonight is I had actually a packet for every ward that has all of these pictures that we're going to be using tonight, that are the pictures for the first verse, the second verse, the bridge, and the chorus for Building Zion. So, And also at the end, when you come to get this, we purchased enough licenses, so there's a digital license for every ward. So if you could just highlight on here the person in your ward, if there's more than one of you that you want me to email it to, then you can have a digital version to do whatever you want with it after tonight. And I have a couple things that I've made that I'm going to just raffle away to anybody who wants to be able to use them in their primary, because I'm obviously not teaching in primary anymore. And so when we're done at the end of the night, I have some cups over there that are gonna be for an envelope game, this puzzle game, and what was the other thing? Envelope game, the puzzle game.
Concentration.
And the concentration puzzle thing over here too. So if you're interested in using those for one of your primaries, just put your name on it. And I thought this would be an easier way because I know not everybody's teaching it. And so like, it'll go to someone who can use it basically. And any of these things, like if you don't win them in the raffle but you want them, just come to me and I can send it to you as a PDF and you can go print it and do what you want with it, okay? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't want to derail you. I know
No, you're good.
I'm just curious, why this song?
Why Building Zion?
Yeah.
So we picked it for this year because we felt like it went good with the Kampo Me theme for the year of talking about Zion and the Doctrine and Covenants and talking about that Zion, we talked to the kids about how Zion is a place. And we talk about that a lot in Kampo Me this year because they're going to be talking about gathering to Zion. What does Zion mean? And then also it talks about like explaining what Zion is as far as like a people who are one heart and one mind together too. And what does that look like? And also we really liked the bridge has, and when our Jesus comes again, we will be ready for his reign. And we thought that went really great with President Nelson's last conference talks where he said he's coming, he is coming again soon. So that's kind of the reasons why we picked it. And also it's peppy. I love peppy primary music, right? I mean, we had so many years of like when we were growing up of stuff that wasn't always like really energetic and fun and like this is a church of joy, right? And so like I love it. And so that's one of the those are a bunch of reasons why we picked this song. So if you're not continuing on with it, totally fine. You can use these ideas for any other song, but like the resources for tonight, we would love for you to be, if anybody can use them, I'm so happy for you to have them. Okay, my phone is recording. Can someone just tell me what time it is so I can kind of
7:40.
40. Okay, so I have about 20 minutes. Okay, so these are hopefully just ideas of different things you can use with pictures that aren't flip charts, but how you could use them in primary in either this song or something else. Okay, Liz, will you come help me? Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of show you how I would do something like this with pictures for a verse. So I would put them up and sorry, I just needed the space so I didn't have to be setting up during the presentation. So this is something different, but if I was doing it in primary, I wouldn't have a bunch of distractions down here. So what I would do is I would sing through the first verse of the song, which we already sang through in there, but let's just sing through just the first little phrase, okay? And let's see. I need my music because otherwise I'm going to forget all of my words because I just have too much happening in my mind right now. How does it start? The Lord called his people. Okay, here we go. Okay, stop right there. Okay, so which one of those pictures do you think represents the Lord called his people Zion? Okay, in the back.
Third one over.
Yeah, so, and then, I won't do this with every picture, but I would just kind of say, okay, see, we have a picture of the Lord and he's like calling to his people, right? And they're gonna use this, to represent Zion in the song. So she sometimes calls this, oops, I dropped the pictures or putting something in a different order, but it's helping their brain like, okay, there's pictures up here, but we wanna put them together in the right order, okay? So I would come over here and put this one in the right spot. Okay, let's do that one and do the next phrase. It's Work on hearts would run and they follow me. Okay, so which one do you think comes next?
The last one.
The last one, right? And again, the same kind of thing, I would just say, so we're talking about one heart, one mind, they're following, and kind of point out how the words, how the picture follows the words, right? Okay, so I'm gonna just skip the rest because let's just sing it through. And then I would come back and say, okay, we'll repeat here and come to this point, and it just, you're singing the song a bunch of different times as you're figuring it out, okay? So it's an activity where you're like talking and then you're singing, and then we're gonna come back to the beginning and sing just this much. And now maybe let's just sing this phrase, and then we'll check it and make sure that we've got it. And so hopefully by the end of that 7 minutes that you're doing that activity, you've sung it through, 4 or 5 times, and they've heard the words, they are trying, that's getting in their little brains. And so even if not every kid is singing the song, the music and the words and the message from the pictures is still getting in their minds. Okay, does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm just gonna leave these ones and we'll move on to the next thing. Did you guys get it?
I have
Okay.
a question.
Okay,
So when you do that, like every time you revisit that song, are you gonna have those up on the board? Or is this just mainly to teach it and then that's it? Or do you like,
so when I'm doing it, like I'll do this for an activity and sometimes I'll do something else and bring them back in so they can see the pictures again. But I'm not necessarily showing the pictures every single time I'm doing this song. So it's more just like, for that one time they're getting it in their mind. I mean, I might bring them back, like if they're having trouble with something for a review or something, but I'm not always using them every single time I'm doing the song. That seemed to be what worked for me, because I wanna do other things. Like next time I do this song, I might be using the rhythm sticks, okay? And so we're doing the rhythm sticks and I want them to pay attention to that, and it's hard for them to pay attention to like doing some manipulative while also looking at the picture on the board.
I can't tell, did you do this digitally or did you draw those?
Oh no, there's a woman on Etsy, Primary Illustrations, she is amazing, like a digital license for this song was like $3.50, and she has a million of these, and she does like, her illustrations just go so great with the words, I just love so much of what she does,
What's
so.
the name, or what do you call these?
Primary Illustrations is the name of the shop on Etsy.
Uh-huh.
And you can just Google, like if you go into her shop and type in a song, then you can see if she already has it. And actually, she didn't even have these, and I reached out to her in November because I really wanted to use them for word conferences, and she's like, oh, I wanna do that, but I'm not gonna get to them till February. And I was like, okay, well, I have to have something in January, so that's why we ended up doing it for training to go to you with that. Do you have another question?
Yeah, so is there anything fundamentally different between the way you would teach this song to the junior primary versus the senior?
Not with this method. There are some things that I would do different with some of these other things as far as, well, like for instance, I'll talk to you about the puzzles. So these are pictures that go with the second verse. And so with the puzzles, I find that fewer number of pictures because they just don't go as fast and it's just too complicated when there's too many pictures. So like tonight, I have puzzle pieces for 4 pictures, but with junior, I mean, I might only do 2 or maybe 3, just depending. I, kind of have to figure that out. But like, those are some things where I would change it for just like more with senior than with junior. And I have a matching game that again, I would do the same thing. I've got like 4 pictures tonight, but I would maybe only do 3 with them because it just takes them longer to process and figure it out. And I still only wanna use like the 6 or 7 minutes and I don't wanna, cause they get bored, right? If you're taking too long. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm gonna use the one with the puzzle to kind of also show you, we had a primary presidency, and I'm sure you do too, who would love to be involved and help in your singing time. And so there's some ways that you can loop them in on some activities. I would usually reach out to my primary presidency and say, I'm gonna need a helper on Sunday who, just so that they would know that I need someone for the time, they could divide up their tasks different, but sometimes like it wouldn't work out and I would need to like get a teacher to help me or whatever. But they love to help, and that's what they're there for. So with the puzzle activity, and also with the concentration activity too, I am the one who knows the song. So I'm gonna be the one who just keeps singing the song, and then I'm gonna ask for an adult to come help. And actually, I'm gonna have 2 adults help. So we're just gonna workshop it, and I'm gonna show you how to do it, and you're gonna do it for like the second verse for a couple times through, and you can just kind of see it, or maybe just one, depending on how much time you have. But I would ask for one adult to please tap a child on the shoulder, and then have that child come up, and then I want another adult on the board over here when they come to put the piece up, okay? So one person's tapping, I'm singing the song, and then I'm having an adult on the board so that when they pick the puzzle piece, this is where it comes, disconnect that. They can come over and put it in the right spot. Okay, so for this, again, like this is for something else, I would have put the squares down on the bottom so it's closer where they can reach them. But for my purposes, I explained to them like, hey, all the pieces with the orange background are gonna go in this square, and all the ones with the yellow, because again, it's just too complicated if there's way too many pieces for them to figure out, and I don't want it to be so super complicated. Okay, so do you wanna help me?
Sure.
Do you wanna be a tapper or the puzzle helper?
I don't care.
Okay, come be the puzzle helper for me.
Tell me what.
Okay, and can I have a volunteer to be a shoulder tapper? Peter, will you help me? Okay, okay, great. So, I would say like, you wanna probably get like maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe not even that much, maybe 2 or 3, to, we do the verse, and then you come up, if you get tapped, pick a piece, and Brianna's gonna show you how to put it in the right spot, okay? Are we good? Does that make sense with everyone? Okay, great. And we're gonna do the second verse. And it's, if you don't know it, it's okay, you don't have to sing it. I'll just sing, and you'll just ignore me because I have a choir voice and not a solo voice, okay? With joy, okay. With joy, towards Zion, and shine the light of Christ from Okay, so you kind of get the idea, right? And then I usually tell the kids, if your shoulder isn't tapped, then your job is to sing, okay? So your job is to sing with me, and then if you get tapped, then your job is to come do that. Okay, perfect, awesome, thank you so much. Sometimes it's just good to like go through it and see how it works, right? And so you have a visual. Okay, so that's the puzzle one. And I actually did have them like up there in the right order so that you can see what the pictures look like. So with the second verse, but anyways, it's fine. We got it. Okay. The concentration game. Okay, so this is using the pictures also for the second verse, and it's the same thing as before. So I'll have somebody standing up here, and this is important to have the person up here because the kids will come and look at the picture and then be like, oh, it doesn't match, and then turn them over real quick. And so if you have an adult sitting up here, then they can make sure that like, okay, can you see this picture? And oh, it doesn't match this one, so you can see where they are, and then we're gonna flip them over, okay? And so it works the same way. So I would have somebody tap in the audience, someone up here to manage the pictures, and then if they get a match, then I would just keep them turned over, so that they can, obviously know which ones are still left. So I'm not gonna workshop that one because I feel like I'm running out of time. Yeah.
So I understand the concept, I'm just trying to figure out what that is on there. Is it representation of a section of the song?
Oh, okay, so these are these pictures that are over here. So they're the pictures of the second verse. So what I would do, I would probably not use this one for the first week of doing it because they might not know what the pictures represent. But you could also after they find a match, you could take one of them and put them up so that they can see the pictures and figure out also at the end, maybe at the matching game, about putting them, back in order so they can see it through again. Does that make sense? Okay, so I might not use that for the first week, but it's a good review week, right? And you could even do it, like after they know the whole song, you could mix it up and put like a couple pictures from the first verse and a couple pictures from the second verse or something. Or do it and throw in the bridge and introduce the bridge pictures in that week or something. So anyways, those are some different ideas that you could do with that one. So that's just the second verse. Okay, how am I on time?
7:52.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay, now I want you to get in groups of 2 or 3. Let's see. We have 4. So how about you 4? And you 4, about 4 or 5 in a group. You 4, how about? And you 3. Okay. Okay, so you want to be on the ground. Sure. Find a space on the ground. Yeah, be on the ground and take the pictures out and put them all on the floor. This is the second bridge. So while we see time in your group, you're gonna want to take the pictures and try to put them in the order of the song, okay? So there's the 4 pictures for the second verse, there's a couple of pictures in there for the chorus, and a couple pictures for the bridge, okay? So you just try to put them in order as we're singing. And there might not be a lot of singing from other kids, but the person, you, standing up in the front will at least have the words, and hopefully teachers too. Okay, all right, let's do the music.
We love to start.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Bridge. Okay, I'm gonna stop. You get it, okay? So there's lots of different orders because I have different pictures for the chorus. And so you could have had the chorus before, pictures of the chorus before the bridge, or we would sing it again and you might have pictures of the chorus after the bridge. But then what I would do is I would have it, that's why I have the pictures on the bottom over here. And then I would like go through with the bigger pictures and say, okay, now check yours as we're going through and let's see if we have them in the right order. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, and that gives them a chance to like do something with their hands, they're out of their seats, they're not sitting in their chairs, and just another idea of making them move around. So great, you can put them back in the envelope, and if somebody wants these, that's great.
Sorry.
That we have in the closet. And so I have a table over here of those also. We, since Christmas, we like used a bunch of money in the budget last year to buy some other, thank you so much, to buy some other manipulatives. So we do have a whole bunch of wind wands that they got, and we have scarves that no one's used yet, but so they're all like in individual little packages. But the scarves, we got a ton of the rhythm sticks.
Cool.
So any of these things, you're welcome to contact one of us to borrow. Obviously, the cups now are in there and it never worked that great for me when I was primary music leader and I did the disposable cups, because I would get the plastic ones and then they would squeeze them and then they would, they'd crack and all those things. And so I'm like, if we're gonna buy them, we need to buy something that's a little more durable. Plus, you could throw them in the dishwasher at the end and get rid of all the mints too. So, yeah.
So maybe I'm just like the laziest one in the room, but it would be great if there was a closet that all the primary presidents could just access this so that we could just access it as we need it on Sundays. I don't know if that makes
Well, we all have
sense.
different buildings, so that makes it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, so we
Why are
actually
we all in the same building? Yeah. It's like a deterrent for me.
Yeah.
What happens if,
It'll take a little bit of planning because you have to decide
Just text Amy, she'll get them to you.
That's
There you go.
There you go, there's
Or
your answer.
Jesse,
There you
Jesse
go.
brings them to you.
Yeah. I
Sunday morning,
really-
Sunday?
Don't let that be a deterrent, as long as you aren't texting at like 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Where, then that's totally reasonable, it's okay, even if you text me on Saturday, somebody can come over and open the cabinet for you, even if you're a last minute kind of planner, so it's fine. But we would love for you to use them if they're things that can work for you. And, I just have a few, for crowd control, it works really good to have them in a bag, like kind of we had in there, so that they're like some in each row, and then they can pass them back to the teachers, and then they're put away. So that works really good for crowd control. I usually with manipulatives will say, okay, if this is the first time we're gonna use them appropriately, and if there's any problems, then I'm just gonna have to take them away. I want you to have them, I want you to have fun, but you can't be hitting the kid next to you with the cup, you can't be poking them with the sticks with their eyes and all those things, because we have to be safe. So I usually would just say that, and I almost never have problems. Maybe a couple times I've had to take something away, but everyone wants to do the fun thing and they don't want to have to get rid of it. Okay, I will just wrap up by telling you a couple things if you're interested in more of these kind of resources. I'm happy to loan out my book. They have a Facebook group that you can join that has tons of people on it. Angie Killian, who actually wrote this Building Science on, is one of the admins on the page. You can search by lots of different stuff. They actually, even I noticed, I started doing some Facebook Live events, and they did a Facebook Live event today that they were going to do something like this, where they were gonna show you some stuff and give you some, tools for teaching things too, which I think is great. And they just have a whole bunch of resources. She also has a blog that has an appendix that's not in the book, but just has a bunch of different ideas of things that you can do, that you can just click on them, and that's why I put the appendix from there. But the blog is actually really great too, and she, her ebbs and flows, and so I noticed sometimes she'll have a bunch, and then she won't have anything for a while, and so it's not super consistent, but there is a lot of information on there if you're interested in browsing through that. I think that's a really great resource. I already kind of mentioned to you the Spotify podcast. There's, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 different episodes on that. That also seemed like something that they did for a while in 2022 and 2023, but I didn't see anything recent, but the information doesn't change. It's like somebody interviewing her and they're talking through, why does this work with that? And anyways, it's just something else to feed your brain as far as what else can I do than the things that I already know. And then teaching primary music on YouTube during COVID, such a great resource, because she was videoing everything. And so there's even somebody on her website who on her Facebook page who has some kind of massive spreadsheet document where if you want to go and search show me all the videos that have cut patterns or whatever, then you can it will click right to the video, or you can go straight to it. And I hardly ever invent my own stuff, because I'm she's already done it. And so I can go and find 3 or 4 ones that use a 4-4 pattern, and oh great, I've got 4 in this one. And she usually will have a builder activity, something you can do next or whatever. It's just so fabulous to have the resource of somebody who already knows all this stuff, and I just have to go and watch and recreate it in my primary, right? And then same as Michelle Crawford does the same thing, the In a Pinch primary music. Okay, I feel like I've been talking a million miles an hour. But is there anything that you guys have questions among each other or that you're interested in like having a conversation about or have any other questions for me?
Is everything that this, oh, sorry, you raised your hand. Go.
No, you can.
I didn't follow the rules.
I was just gonna say, I really find like the video, I am a teacher, I the rules, dang it. The videos, I was just telling Dave that a lot of times the YouTube videos, I'll go and watch Charla like do how she did the cut pattern.
Yeah,
And then, or like the melody map, like how she uses the melody map. And then on the blog, it's like how to create a melody map.
yes.
And she has both digital versions and then like if you wanna do it on a poster board, you can do it on that way. And it's good for me because then I'm like, okay, I gotta know what I'm doing. And then during the week when I'm like trying to learn the song for myself, because it takes me 4 million
Yes.
times to
Yes.
learn it, I'm like practicing my cut
Yes.
pattern while I'm not driving though.
Yeah.
Actually, I am driving most of it, I'm like, the stupid people, like, you're not a seizure, it's fine. But it actually really is helpful, because then I'm like, it's helping me memorize it.
Yeah.
The one thing is you have to change up your patterns though.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do the same thing
Yeah,
2
no,
weeks
no.
in a row,
Yeah.
because if you do, then they start to emphasize certain things, because you did a movement somewhere, and then they're like, okay, you're in the program, and they're like, all shouting the same word, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice. That's great.
You're laughing.
Thanks for so many good ideas. This is super helpful for me. It's everything that says yes, so we can take a picture of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, there's finger lights, there's the paper plates, all of those things. So, okay, we are going to do a closing prayer.